Welcome back, Music Maniacs, to another episode of Gibbs Drops the Needle, your one-stop spot for all things music. I know I'm a day late on this, but yesterday, for those that don't know, was July 4th, and so I had a lot of family over. We shot off some fireworks, we had a cookout, so most of the day was spent preparing for that, and then celebrating July 4th with the kids and family and everybody. So I didn't have a spare moment to sit down and get this episode out to you. So I figured better late than never. So here we go. This is the Billboard Hot 100, which is the top singles. We're going to go through the top 10 here, starting with number 10 and Dracula by Tame Impala and Jenny. Last week, this track was at number 18. It's peaked at number 10 and been on the charts for 39 weeks. At 9, we have I Can't Love You Anymore by Ella Langley and Morgan Wallen. Last week, this song was number 14. It's peaked at 7 and been on the charts for 9 weeks. At 8 is Man I Need by Olivia Dean. Last week, this was number 10. It's peaked at number 2 and been on the charts for 44 weeks. So we are seeing quite a bit either creeping into the top 10 that weren't in the top 10 or maybe moving up a little bit here. Next up we have at number 7, Hate That I Made You Love Me by Ariana Grande. This track was number 8 last week. It's peaked at number 1 and been on the charts for 4 weeks. At number 6 is Janice STFU. Last week this was number 7, peaked at number 1, and has been on the Billboard Hot 100 for 6 weeks. At 5 is Drop Dead by Olivia Rodrigo. Last week this was number 4, peaked at number 1, and been on the Billboard 200 for 10 weeks. At 4, another Olivia Rodrigo song, we have Stupid Song by Olivia Rodrigo. Last week this was number 3, it's peaked at 3 and been on the Billboard 100 for 2 weeks. At number 3 we have Be Her by Ella Langley. Last week this was the number 5 song and it's peaked at number 2, been on the charts for 19 weeks. Number 2, falling down a spot, which is honestly surprising to me at least, is I Knew It, I Knew You by Taylor Swift. Last week this was your number 1 song. It peaked at number 1 and has been on the charts for 3 weeks now. So moving up to your number 1 song of the week is Choosin' Texas by Ella Langley. Last week this was number 2. It's peaked at number 1 and been on the charts for 36 weeks. I have talked about how I had a coworker listening to some country music and this song seems to constantly be on repeat on that station, so no surprise that it's still doing well on the charts here. And I am kind of curious as to whether the 4th of July coming up or anything had anything to do with Choosin' Texas jumping I Knew It, I Knew You, just because country is probably more associated with July 4th celebration kind of music. So we'll have to see if it keeps holding that number 1 spot or if it maybe dips back down next week. For your albums this week, the Billboard 200 top 10 albums of the week. Starting at number 10, we have Erarang by BTS. Last week this was also at number 10. It's peaked at number 1 and been on the charts for 14 weeks. At 9 is The Art of Loving by Olivia Dean. Last week this was 9 and peaked at number 3, been on the charts for 39 weeks. At number 8 we have One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. Last week this was also number 8, peaked at number 1 and has been on the Billboard 200 for 173 weeks. At 7 we have Number Ones by Michael Jackson. Last week this was also 7, peaked at 6, been on the charts for 243 weeks. So we're not really seeing a whole lot of change, if any, so far in this list for this week. At 6, continuing that trend, is Thriller by Michael Jackson. Last week, 6 peaked at number 1, been on the charts for 724 weeks. At 5, we have The Great Divide by Noah Kahan. Last week, also number 5, peaked at number 1, has been on the Billboard 200 for 9 weeks. At number 4 is I'm the Problem by Morgan Wallen. Last week this was also number 4, peaked at number 1, and has been on the charts for 58 weeks. At 3 we have Dandelion by Ella Langley. Last week this was also number 3, has peaked at number 1, and been on the charts for 11 weeks. At number 2 we have Iceman by Drake. Last week also number 2, peaked at number 1, been on the charts for 6 weeks. And holding down that number 1 position still is You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So In Love by Olivia Rodrigo. Last week this was at number 1 as well, and been on the list for 2 weeks now. So absolutely no change for the week of July 4th, 2026 when it comes to the top 10 albums. So that's where I normally stop with the list, but honestly, and this just kind of happened on the fly here, I have discovered that there's also a global 200 list, so I think that that would be pretty relevant for those outside of the United States that follow music trends. So we'll start going through the top 10 of the global 200, and then I also saw that there is a top 100 artist of the week. So we'll start going over the top 10 artists of the week. That way it's a culmination of everything that they've done, because there's a lot of these artists that maybe have works or singles on this list that I'm not seeing throughout the spots from 11 to 100, or in the global 200 case, the 11 through 200 spot. So the top artist kind of gives you more of a gauge of the total amount of impact that an artist is having for the week. So we're going to go ahead and start adding this to the episode as well. So for the global 200, which is the best songs in the world, we have at number 10 Beauty and the Beat by Justin Bieber featuring Nicki Minaj. Last week this song was at number 21. It's peaked at number 1 and been on the global 200 for 11 weeks. At number 9 we have Day Day, which is the FIFA World Cup official song by Shakira and Burna Boy. Last week this song was number 20. It's peaked at 9 and been on the charts for 5 weeks. Obviously, the World Cup being a huge sporting event for the whole world right now, so no surprise to see that its official song would be making the global top 10 here. At number 8, we have Swim by BTS. Last week this was 7, peaked at number 1, and has been on the global 200 for 14 weeks. At number 7, we have Dracula by Tame Impala and Jenny. Last week this was number 15. It's peaked at number 2 and been on the charts for 37 weeks. So I believe this was number 10 in the Billboard Hot 100. So on the global charts, it's up to number 7. Also, comparing Hot 100 to Global 200 charts, the number 1 song on the Billboard Hot 100 is the number 6 song on the Global 200, which is Choosin' Texas by Ella Langley. Last week this song was number 17, so it hasn't even been in the top 10 here. It's peaked up at number 5 and been on the list for 35 weeks. At number 5, we have Drop Dead by Olivia Rodrigo. Last week this was the number 4 song on the Global 200, peaked at number 1, and has been on the Global 200 for 10 weeks. At number 4, we have The Cure by Olivia Rodrigo. Last week this song was number 2, peaked at number 2, and has been on the charts for 5 weeks. At number 3, we have Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Last week, this song was number 6, so it's moved up quite a bit here recently. It's peaked at number 1 and been on the Global 200 for 150 weeks. So this is where you start seeing that the album impact here. We had Michael Jackson albums in the top 10 of the Billboard 200 albums, and you see that the single Billie Jean is in the global top 3 here. At number 2, we have Hate That I Made You Love Me by Ariana Grande. Last week, this song was number 3, peaked at number 1, has been on the charts for 4 weeks. And your number 1 song on the Global 200, so this is the whole world, what the number 1 song is Stupid Song by Olivia Rodrigo. Last week, this was also the number 1 song, and it's been on the charts for 2 weeks. So that is your Global 200. I just thought that was maybe an interesting thing to add in here because I do have some listeners that are outside of the US, so it's important to keep up with worldwide music trends, even if you're here in the US and you just want to know what the rest of the world is listening to. We have that for you now here with the Global 200. Now for the Billboard Artist 100 list. So this is going to be the most popular artist of this week. At number 10, we have Olivia Dean. Last week, she was also the number 10 artist, has peaked at number 3, and been on the top artist list for 42 weeks. At 9, we have Bruno Mars. Last week, he was also the number 9 artist, has peaked all the way up at number 1, and been on the Artist 100 for 604 weeks. So that's an amazing amount of time there for Bruno Mars. At number 8, we have Noah Kahan. Last week, he was the number 7 artist. He's peaked at number 1 and been on the Artist 100 for 151 weeks. Number 7 is Luke Combs. Last week, he was the number 8 artist. He's peaked at number 1 and been on the Artist 100, an impressive 486 weeks. This is interesting to me because this is a case where we have an artist showing up in the top 10 that I haven't really seen any singles or albums appearing in the top 10. So that's why I find this list kind of interesting because, as I said, it adds up their work as a whole, not just one album or one song. And it kind of shows that people were listening to Luke Combs a lot, and it wasn't necessarily from one album or one song. So it's great to be able to gauge the popularity of artists with this list, I believe. At number 6, which I'm kind of surprised that she's not higher up on this list, it's Taylor Swift. Last week she was also number 6. She has been the top artist, which is no surprise. And she's been on this list an impressive 622 weeks. Again, very impressive that she's been on the list that long, but I am surprised that she is not at least in the top 5 artists right now. At 5, we have Ella Langley, which last week was also number 5, peaked at number 1, and has been on the Artist 100 list for 94 weeks. At number 4 is Morgan Wallen. Last week, Morgan Wallen was at number 4 as well. He's peaked at number 1 and has been on the Artist 100 for 381 weeks. At 3, we have Drake. Last week he was the number 2 artist. He's peaked at number 1 and has been on the Artist 100 for 624 weeks. Very impressive there. At number 2, we have Michael Jackson. Last week he was number 3. He's peaked at 1 and been on this Artist 100 list for 536 weeks. So just amazing. I know I talked about it quite a bit in previous episodes, the resurgence of Michael Jackson and how popular he is, and just gaining that popularity now with a new generation. So it's cool to see him still making an impact, Even though he's been passed away for many years now, his music is obviously still grabbing the attention of a new generation, which is bringing him back to the charts here. Your number one artist for the Artist 100 list is Olivia Rodrigo. Last week she was also the number one artist and has been on the Artist 100 for 222 weeks. So I added a couple more charts to go through with you. If you like that, let me know. If you don't like that, let me know. I just like being able to put out as much information to you as possible. But if this is something that you're not interested in, then I will not continue to do it. So just let me know, hit me up with a comment, or you can go over to facebook.com/GibbsDropsTheNeedle and join up with the fan page there, and you can drop comments there if you want. That is all I got for you on the week of July 4th, 2026 list. Please do all the good things that help me out, like, subscribe, follow, thumbs up, whatever you gotta do to help me out there. I really appreciate it. Until next time, I'm Gibbs. This is Gibbs Drops the Needle. Stay safe and be kind.